Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to look at a pretty fascinating and honestly unexpected connection between a massive historic aviation milestone and modern, scalable business growth. It's a journey that takes us from the freezing cockpit of a vintage airplane over the Atlantic, straight into the dashboard of a thriving modern business. So if you're a business owner who feels like your marketing is just, well, a series of expensive guesses, you're definitely going to want to pay close attention to this. So let's set the scene. May 21, 1927, Charles Lindbergh completes the very first solo nonstop flight across the Atlantic Ocean. But here's the kicker. When you actually break down the timeline of events, the flight itself, the execution phase, that was literally just the final step. That incredible milestone absolutely was not a product of chance. Lindbergh didn't just hop in a plane and hope the wind blew him to France, right? It was the result of highly engineered preparation, meticulous route mapping, and total trust in a system that was custom-built to reach a very specific destination. And you know what? Business growth works exactly the same way. The core idea here is that growth is not luck. It is engineered through structure, visibility, accountability, and the right systems working in sync. You absolutely cannot rely on hope or throw money at random, disconnected marketing activities and expect predictable results. Just like Lindbergh couldn't cross an ocean on a whim, you can't build a sustainable business on a lucky break. Growth has to be engineered. Which brings us to part one of our explainer. Guessing is not growth, which is a massive dilemma for a lot of businesses today. Because look, the entire game of business growth is about moving away from guessing and hope, throwing money at scattered marketing channels and just praying something sticks, and shifting completely over to preparation and execution. That means structure, control, and having a truly measurable system. Making that shift, that is the exact difference between perpetually stalling out on the runway and actually gaining serious altitude. The reality of the guessing game is just brutal. Too many businesses are out there spending thousands of dollars on marketing without having a clue where their leads are actually coming from. They don't know which channels are working, and they definitely don't know how that spend connects back to real bottom-line revenue. If you're staring at confusing dashboards, completely scattered sticky notes, and trying to decode reports from a dozen different platforms, you aren't flying a plane. You're just setting your budget on fire. Guessing is simply not a growth strategy. So let's talk about the solution in part two. Engineering a marketing system with Stage 4. The Stage 4 philosophy is elegantly simple. Structure creates control. That steady, predictable, upward trajectory you're looking for, it does not happen by accident. Growth has to be measurable. Real effective marketing isn't about chasing flashy vanity metrics on social media. It's about building foundational infrastructure. Infrastructure that gives you, the owner, complete visibility, total control, and a clear mathematical understanding of what is actually moving the needle. So, what does this infrastructure actually look like in practice? Well, think of these as the essential instruments on your cockpit dashboard. To truly engineer growth, you need paid advertising management working perfectly in sync with your Google business profile and local SEO targeting. You need robust lead generation systems, and this is huge, call tracking, so you know exactly which sources are generating real conversations. Throw in custom reporting and a revenue growth strategy, and you have a unified system. All these pieces must connect into one organized, predictable engine. No more fragmented sticky notes. Now, this process comes together in 4 really logical steps. First, you build the foundation. Get the tracking, the local citations, and those dashboards set up so everything is measurable from day one. Second, you drive and qualify demand. That's launching the paid campaigns and actually seeing what turns into quality leads. Third, you scale what works by expanding channels and optimizing conversions. But step 4, this is the secret sauce. You transfer operational clarity. You document the entire system so your internal team genuinely understands how the engine runs. Let's move right along to part 3, scaling with Stage 4 and mapping out the actual flight plan. What we have here is a clear escalating path of value across 3 stages, totally based on what kind of lead volume you actually need. First up is the foundation tier at $1,000 a month. This is all about establishing baseline control, claiming local directories, getting that Google business profile dialed in, and building out that custom reporting dashboard. Next is growth at $2,500 a month, which introduces digital paid campaigns and lead flow development. And finally, the scale tier at $4,000 a month. This adds multi-channel setup and an advanced revenue strategy to really maximize your growth. It's just a remarkably clear progression. I want to pause on that growth tier for a second. At $2,500 a month, this is by far their most popular stage, and it makes total sense why. It perfectly bridges the gap. You're not just getting the foundational dashboard and the local SEO, you are getting active engine thrust. They're setting up and managing up to 2 digital paid campaigns, consulting on your call tracking, and auditing your website. It is literally the perfect sweet spot for a business that's ready to drive consistent leads without feeling completely overwhelmed by all the new controls. Which brings us to our final section, Part 4, the ultimate destination, operational independence. Traditional marketing agencies usually operate on this model of agency dependency. They love to protect the mystery, right? They keep your data hidden behind a curtain so that you have a permanent, lifelong reliance on them, just paying retainer after retainer. But Stage 4 completely flips the script. Their focus is on operational independence. They act like a top-tier aerospace engineer who builds a high-performance machine, integrates it into your business, and then, crucially, hands you the manual and transfers the knowledge so you can actually operate it internally. And this brings us back to their core philosophy, which really says it all. The goal is to help businesses build marketing systems they can understand, measure, and eventually manage with confidence. It is entirely about empowering you to own your growth rather than perpetually renting it from some outside agency. Think of it like the difference between paying a pilot to fly you around forever versus hiring a seasoned instructor to teach you how to fly your own plane. So, I'll leave you with this question as we wrap up today. Are you ready to build a marketing system your business can actually own? Lindbergh had a destination, a rock-solid plan, a finely tuned machine, and the absolute discipline to execute. You need that exact same approach for your business. It is time to stop guessing, take control of the cockpit, and engineer your own massive milestone. If you're ready to finally move from reactive spending to a growth system that you own, schedule your growth assessment today. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, here's to engineering your own operational independence.